not only in Asia, but in the rest of the world. People are looking at the results of the election in India, and it's not just a question of who gets in. It's also a question of the ambitions of India to become the third largest economy in the world within the next several years. India has experienced significant growth in the last decade or so. It had very good GDP growth numbers. It also had expansion of its various economic sectors to the point where India now is feeling confident that it could catch up and become the third largest economy. This is significant for China as well, because India always compares itself in competition with China. And this is for good reason, because China, like India, has a very large population and has been a developing country. What is really very interesting to look at is what happened over the last 40 years ago. Per capita GDP of India is the same as China. I think it was $1 difference or something like that. It's really parallel. But in 40 years, the per capita GDP of China is now 5 times that of India. What did China do and what did India do, or what India did not do, becomes a big subject of debate. Why has China been able to do it and India has not, despite the fact that the Western countries are very, very keen on promoting India as a counterweight or counterbalance to China? They describe India as the largest democratic nation in the world in terms of population. We look at this and make a comparison. What did China do? After the success of the revolution, the People's Republic of China focused on education, focused on infrastructure, focused on building supply chain. It went from selling 10 million T-shirts to exchange for buying a Boeing jet to the high-value output that it enjoys today. India, looking at what happened in China, is very keen to try to catch up. I think China and India has to get along. They're neighbors, and that they're both very large population and share a very long border, and both are in Asia, and both could play a significant role in the global south. But this would not happen. It would not be successful if one or the other country takes an antagonistic view or a negatively competitive view of the other. I don't think it's really in the benefit of India. I don't know if it's just the Western press which is promoting the competition between the two, or Indian press also bashing China like the West. What we have is a situation in which India takes China as a target of competition in a very negative way. I think what may be necessary is to have much more exchange between India and China in terms of people-to-people exchange, as well as academics, as well as media, to really get a feel of how the two can collaborate and cooperate. Because many people who visited China from India are shocked by what they saw. This is not what Indian media portrays. India has a lot of issues to address. China had an expression: to get wealth, you have to build a road first. Without building a road, without transportation, without infrastructure, you cannot develop. India, nearly half of its population does not have stable electricity supply. India, in terms of infrastructure, the railway systems were built a century ago. India has also serious issues to deal with in terms of the population mix. The simple fact that India has a very large mix of various religious groups, various nationalities, and so on and so forth, are all issues that have to be addressed. And then in terms of literacy, India's level of literacy is considerably lower than that of China. Without addressing these issues in terms of education, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of the mix, in terms of nationalities in the population and religion, without addressing these issues, it's going to be very, very difficult for India to actually move quickly to the front ranks of the global countries. Then how do you address these issues? How can they be addressed quickly and effectively? You need a very, very strong central government, very, very strategic planners and leaders, people who would look in the long term of addressing problems with strategic solutions. We certainly hope, sitting here in China, that India develops well and does not regard China as a competitive enemy. We certainly hope that there could be closer collaboration on the economic side and also on the geopolitical side, in which India can join with others in the global south through entities like the BRIC countries to effectively promote collaboration among the countries of the global south, to raise the level of standard of living of its own people, but also for the rest of the world, as China has tried to do with Belt and Road and globalization and the spreading of supply chain. Countries have become much more efficient and effective, integrated global economy. I think India has been seen over the course of the last 5-6 years as really seeking to benefit only itself. The business environment has been quite negative for a number of Chinese companies who have invested in India. And this is not only Chinese companies, but I think companies from other countries as well. So for India, I think should look at improving the business environment, should focus its effort on building infrastructure, should focus its attention on enhancing the education system so that the human resources pool is further enriched, should do all of this in a positive and inclusive way, no matter what religion, no matter what nationality the populace may come from. There should be a unified effort. And some of the traditional problems that still exist today, like the caste system and so on, these issues have to be addressed, because without modernization, you really can't have industrialization. And modernization means social and cultural modernization as well. So we hope for the best for them and for the Indian people.